Welcome back. Our next guest has a background in art and therapy. She calls herself a detective of sorts, working with creatives and others to help them find solutions in their lives. That also led to an interest in art forgery, and that inspired her to bring all of it together for the Kate O'Dade Art Crime Novels book series. The first book of the series, called Artist, Lover, Forger, Thief by Sheila Sharpe, just out this month. She is joining us via Zoom this morning. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us. We really, really appreciate it. Let's start with this fascination of art forgery. How did that come to be?
No, that's a good question because it's a little bit of an oddball interest, but it's really incredibly central to our lives that most people don't recognize. And I suppose that I got into that particular wing from several sources, which was having grown up wanting to be an artist myself and studying and getting degrees and all that, and then finally launching myself into the world, and that didn't work. So I was in the company of many other artists who were not embraced by the art world, and many of them became forgers in order to make a living and to strike back at the art establishment for rejecting them. And so, but I didn't, being sort of a goody two shoes, I didn't go that route.
Sure.
I went. I did what my mother told me for once, which was to go to Plan B, which was go to some other field, and that turned out to be psychology because I always have had an interest in that. So I became a psychologist, and I became then a psychologist who treated creative people, as far as a focus. And in the course of my work, I did come across some shady art collectors and dealers, and a really interesting pair of con artists. So you can imagine what their issues were. But in the course of all that, I developed a fascination with the art underworld and forgery being a central part of it. So that's how it got going, and I think probably one of the encounters I had involved friends of mine who brought me a painting that they thought might be. They didn't know who the artist was, so I took it to an art conservator for examination, and she thought it was possibly a work of a well-known artist, California Impressionist, and that really set my wheels going into developing a story about art forgery. And meanwhile, I was a lifelong mystery thriller addict.
Okay.
From the word. So combining all that, that's how I ended up in art forgery.
Well, there you go. And I can say being an author is also an artist. So you're still doing it. You're making the thing. Let's talk about where this story goes, how you bring your knowledge of art and forgeries and your fascination with crime into this story. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, the main character, I think, is well. There's two really. There are two protagonists, but if you have to pick one, it's the art forger, a British art forger named Nick McCoy, and he wants to get out of it. He wants to become a real artist, but he can't leave that domain until he avenges the murder of his family. And so there's a whole vengeance part of this in which he seeks out. Well, so he finds it's an art collector, a billionaire art collector who had his family murdered, but primarily intending to kill the father who was making copies. Well, anyway, that's the backstory. So it starts with him developing a plot to punish this villainous billionaire, and in the course of that, at some point, he starts having panic attacks, and then he goes to therapy. That's when he meets the second protagonist, who's a psychologist, of course. You know, write what you know. So, uh, and very briefly, but in the course of that kind of encounter, um, both of them kind of, are very attracted.
Oh.
So it turns into the two of them working on this scheme. She gets drawn in because she's actually warred death with her life, and uh, anyway, she gets pulled in, and the two of them are involved then in this revenge plot that then leads to murder, that then leads to
Okay.
pursuit through the streets of London, and et cetera, et cetera.
Art. You get some art, some crime, some love, all of the things here. This is available right now wherever books are sold. Artist, lover, forger, thief. Sheila Sharpe, thank you so much for joining us. We can follow your work on Instagram or go to SheilaSharpe.com to learn more about the Kate O'Dade art crime novel series.
Say one thing, it's a #1 bestseller now on Amazon.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.